Living room.
Is now a quiet zone. Don't talk, text, or arrive late. Keep your cell phone dark, silent, and out of sight. After one warning, you will be ejected from the
Living room.
without a refund. Problem with a loud
Roommate?
raise an order card and a
Take care of it yourself. It's your house.
thank you for your cooperation.
God bless you all. My name is Reverend Eric Gates from Faith United Church of Christ in Bryan, Texas. It's a joy to have each of you here. We extend a special welcome to those who are single, married, divorced, filthy rich, and dirt poor. We don't care if you can recite the Bible or not. If you don't have everything figured out or your life isn't perfect, you're at the right place. Feel free to doubt and ask questions. No offense is taken. If you're in recovery or still addicted, welcome. Don't like organized religion? No worries. We've been there too. Tattoos, piercings, or both? Glad to have you. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now or had religion shoved down your throat as a kid. We love imperfection. We embrace it. And we welcome you. Craig was a dear friend of mine. I first met Craig when we were both police cadets at the Austin Police Academy in 1998. We were the same age and shared a passion for our love of professional basketball. Craig, who was originally from Beaumont, was a huge Houston Rockets fan. Having gone to high school in San Antonio, hail to the Cole Cougars, I was a huge, and still am, San Antonio Spurs fan. After graduating from the police academy, Craig would go on to working patrol in Central East Austin, and I went on working patrol in Northeast Austin. Our paths wouldn't cross for any significant amount of time after that until we ran into each other in 2010. 4 years prior, I left the police department after going through some trials and tribulations of my own, finding faith and getting into recovery from addiction. In 2010, I was in my second year of seminary and working full-time at an alcohol and drug treatment center in the Texas Hill Country. It was November of 2010 when a pickup truck pulled onto the treatment center grounds. And it was then that I saw 3 police officers dressed in regular clothing exit the truck. I knew all 3 of them. One of them was Craig. Craig, at the time of his arrival at the treatment center, was an Austin police sergeant. He was married to Mandy, and they had a daughter and son together, Madison and Cameron. He also had 3 stepchildren whom he loved, Garen, Harrison, and Kylie. I had met Mandy previously when I was still at the police department, but it was at this time on Thanksgiving when Craig was still in treatment that I was able to meet all of his kids. They were such a beautiful family. Craig came into treatment because he struggled with addiction. The treatment center, located in Wimberley, Texas, was a perfect setting for recovery. It was connected to nature, and the people there would always witness amazing sunrises and sunsets. It was definitely a place where you could feel the presence of God. In beginning work with Craig and talking to him about spirituality, I came to learn that he believed in God, but was not a practicing or devout Christian. He did associate with Christianity, but he did not have a church home. Before Craig left, I gave him my phone number and told him that if he ever needed to talk or reach out for help, I would be there for him. That would be the last time I would speak with Craig. On February 25th, 2011, a life came to an end. Not just any life, but Craig's life. New Braunfels police would find him dead in a motel room from an overdose after having huffed keyboard cleaner cans. Craig was a friend to many, closer to some than others, but still a friend nonetheless. Like some of us watching today, Craig struggled with addiction. For those who don't struggle with addiction, you are like Craig. You were like him because he was a child of God. Why then did Craig have to die? Why did he have to die when God put people and help in his path? Those of us who knew Craig understood that he had his struggles, struggles that included a rocky marriage, and struggles that included him being disciplined at his work because of his addiction. But the question still looms. Why did he have to die sooner than others in this world? Why did Craig have to die when there are others out there who don't care about how they live their lives? Craig cared and was trying to make changes in his life. Craig was a beacon of hope to others in the police department who struggle and continue to struggle with alcoholism and other issues. Ultimately, his beacon of light was extinguished. Where is the beacon of light in our darkness today? Where is the light that Psalm 139 is talking about as we live and die in the midst of a global pandemic and warfare and struggle and strife to the degree of which none of us have previously experienced in our lifetimes? As we sit in our homes today and not in a church building, are we not hidden in the darkness? Is the light not becoming night in the shadow of Craig's and many others' deaths? How are we to believe that God's hand is guiding us, or that God's hand was guiding Craig? Why, God, was Craig's beacon of light, a light that served your will in his service to others, extinguished? The reading says, "Your right hand will hold me fast." Really? God's right hand will hold me, us, fast? As though, and as tough as it is, I have to have faith that God knows our hearts and that God is always with us through thick and thin, no matter where we go, what we do, or where we worship. I have to have that faith that God is with us. While Craig didn't have to go to or have an actual church home building, he was still a Christian. For those who wonder and ask, what does it mean to be the church during this time of pandemic? Are we able to share the gospel with others? What about those who don't know Christ? I would recommend another source of reflection on this experience of finding God and the promises of God in unexpected places that we read about in Psalm 139. That is, not just in the sanctuaries and in the altars we have built, but turning to Diane Butler Bass's wonderful book, Grounded, Finding God in the World, A Spiritual Revolution. She speaks so clearly about the reality of the nuns and the duns who feel God's presence with them wherever they go. They can experience God outside of the church building and find God in communities that are meeting today in unconventional and new ways. Sadly, they are still judged so often by church folks. She also acknowledges her own struggle with the church that has made it difficult to participate in traditional worship. She writes this: "This has not happened because I am angry at the church or God. Rather, it has happened because I was moving around in the world and began to realize how beautifully God was everywhere, in nature and in my neighborhood, in considering the stars and by seeking my roots. It took me 5 decades to figure it out, but I finally understood. The church is not the only sacred space. The world is profoundly sacred as well." I trust centuries of mystics would agree with her. Indeed, we experience God in more places than our church buildings, no matter how beautiful or inspiring they are. We have a place in nature, or a quiet spot in our home, or maybe we have unexpectedly stumbled upon sacred ground in the most unexpected places, like hospital waiting rooms, or the operating room, or the doctor's office during a diagnosis. I've personally experienced this working in hospital settings and sitting bedside with hospice staff as a church member breathed their last breath in their own home. Terence Fretheim writes beautifully about our need to create places of worship. He says, because human beings are shaped by place as well as time. Thinking back to Jacob and thousands of other ancestors who wandered, who were led, who were taken in exile, who went on pilgrimage, we find his words inspiring for us too, their descendants in faith. He continues to write, the rhythms of the ancestors include the rhythm of journeying and worship. Their journeys are punctuated by moments of worship at specific places, yet the place never becomes a final objective where one settles in. It provides sustenance for the ongoing journey. We are wondering right now, there is still a lot that is unknown, not only about this nasty virus, but also about our innermost selves. It is in times like these that the bright rungs of God's ladder touch down onto our ordinary pieces of earth. This is when the ordinary can become extraordinary, and we can turn our living spaces and workspaces into holy places in unexpected and creative ways. In good news or bad, in joy and sorrow, we need to hold fast to the sure knowledge that God is with us always, just as God promised, no matter where we go or where we worship. Because God knows us, we cannot surprise God. Nothing we have done or will do can catch God off guard. In times of struggle and pain and uncertainty, God knows our ways and our addictive nature. And our addictions are not only to substances, but to power, greed, religion, pride, the need to be right. It is in our struggle with these things that I find God committing resources to help us out and to connect with God in new ways that are both life-giving and, yes, challenging. Just the other day, I sent a private message to a dear friend who happened to be the name I landed on in my contacts for who am I going to send a message to. Each week, I pick a random name from my contacts list and send an uplifting and encouraging message. Such a small act, yes, but very significant, because I learned that this person needed to get that message at that particular moment. I don't know what exactly was going on in their life, but in our daily struggles, that to me is God at work through us being there for others. That to me is an example of God making a commitment to our wholeness, just as God was committed to delivering the children of Israel from Egypt. God is with us no matter where we go, right? Or what we do. So it is so comforting to know deeply and to fully understand that God is always with us, even when we were bound up in trying to prove others wrong, calling other people names, and disparaging their character or intellect, or shaming and belittling them for not agreeing with us. Guess what? God is there. Even when our lives are or feel completely unmanageable, and we are so out of our minds because what it has meant to be church is flipped on its head, still, God is there. According to Psalm 139, then, maybe we can find comfort in knowing that God was there with Craig to the very end. It's comforting to know that God brings light into the darkness. It's comforting to know that whether we are in the heavens or making our beds in the depths, God is there. We know that Craig made his bed in the depths at one time. But that is not the end of Craig's journey. When I worked in treatment centers, I used to share a saying I had read once that goes like this: we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Well, Craig is a spiritual being who had a human experience. Craig's journey has taken him to the heavens, whatever that may look like. It's a journey where Craig has never been alone. It's a journey where God has been with Craig and is still with Craig, holding him fast. It's a journey that now becomes the beacon of hope for those of you watching this message. It's a beacon of hope because it is not the end, but only the beginning. I encourage you to reread Psalm 139. See and be reminded of how beautiful and comforting the journey is. God and Craig are now with us on our own journeys, holding us fast. Journeys that lead us into the heavens and into the depths. Journeys where the light of God and Craig now turn our darkness into light. Our night will shine like the day, because to God and Craig, darkness is as light. As we finish the message today, recommit yourself to love others as Jesus loved. Remember to put God in the center of your life, because God will do for you what you cannot do for yourself. Now each of you get into motion this week and offer others the invitation of Christ's hope and love. Amen.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.